Hey guys, so in today's video I'm going to talk about the third step of the 7 steps to financial freedom by Tony Robbins' book, Money Master the Game. And in today's topic we're going to talk about your dreams and the plan that you should set in order to make this game winnable, the game of investment, right? So this chapter is not actually asset allocation as I thought it was. Asset allocation is the next chapter, chapter 4, which I will talk about later. But in this chapter, we're going to talk about setting up a plan for your to reach your goals, to reach your financial freedom, whatever that is for you. And then Tony Robbins, he stresses that it's really important for you to actually think of this as from a very goal-oriented mentality. So to always think this as a goal that you want to achieve, and to set that goal and then work hard to achieve that goal. Because if you're not very clear on your vision, and it's just broad, it's just like I want to reach financial freedom, or I want like $20 million to feel happy or something like this, then it's very hard for you to actually take an actionable steps in order to achieve that goal, because it's very vague. So you can't really work in a very vague environment to reach vague goals. You need to be very certain about your goals and have a specific step-by-step plan in order to reach these goals. And in his book, he basically leads you to go to an app called Master the Game. So you can go to tonyrobbins.com/master the game, and in this app basically he asks you a couple of questions on your investments, your income, your state of wealth, so on and so forth, and that app basically helps you to set a specific plan that is customized for you to reach your financial freedom the quickest way possible, through asset allocation, through other financial investments, right? So he talks about creating and committing to a plan to reach your dreams, and he talks about 5 different dreams that people usually have, and these increase basically in terms of freedom. So the first one is the least freedom-oriented one, the last one is the most freedom you can have financially. So the first one is financial security, and then financial vitality, financial independence, financial freedom, and then the 5th one, absolute financial freedom. The first one, financial security, I mean, that's the level where it's just you meet the basic needs. That's food, transportation, rent, maybe gas bills, electricity bills, some of the bills, not all of them. But it's just the basic needs that you just need to survive, right? The second level, financial vitality, it adds up a luxury, maybe a car, maybe other luxuries like paying extra phone bills, just other different types of luxuries basically. And financial independence, more luxuries, maybe that includes traveling once a year. And then you have financial freedom, that's financial, just doing whatever you want to do, to a certain limit. If you want to travel around the world, collect artifacts, whatever you love doing, and that takes a lot of money, you can actually do it once you get financial freedom, or once you reach that goal to your fund. Because all of these goals and dreams are very subjective, and each one of us have different goal of what they think their financial freedom is worth. So maybe you think your financial freedom is $100,000 a year. Maybe I think maybe for me, maybe it's $250,000 a year. For someone else, maybe it's $1 million a year. So it depends on basically how much you want to spend, or things you want to spend on. So that's why I really advise to go to tonyrobbins.com, master the game, and then by answering the questions, you'll find out what it will take for you to get your financial freedom that's customized for you according to the questions and according to the data that you input in the app, right? And then you have absolute financial freedom. That's when you just want to do anything you want to do, really. If you want to buy a jet, go buy a jet, or rent a jet, whatever it is. But it just gives you that absolute freedom to spend money on whatever you want to spend in life. Okay, so so we went over the 5 financial dreams that most people have, and then now we're going to talk about. Actually, let me go and jump into this. I haven't discussed this before, but it was in one of the chapters, and this is really what you're trying to do with investments. So you're trying to basically accumulate as much money as you can, invest it, put it away for investment, let it grow, and you want to get to that point where it's critical mass. And that point where it's critical mass, you have enough money in your saving fund that now money is working for you, and generating you enough income to reach whatever dream, whatever goal you're trying to achieve. So if your financial freedom is worth $100,000 a month, a year, what you're looking to do is reach critical mass where you have enough money in your fund where that money is producing a return that exceeds $100,000, right? So that way, the money that is being generated every year the money that is working hard for you every year is enough for you to live your dream, which is maybe financial freedom. And you just withdraw that money every year. It just it just basically just comes to you. It goes into your bank account every year, and you just use it year after year after year. You don't have to work. You just wait. You just sit down and wait for money to come to get into your bank account. That's what it is basically when it comes to critical mass and deaccumulation phase. So you get that critical mass, and then it's deaccumulation phase. Now it's just you take money from that account, and that account is just basically that money that's been generated year after year after year. You know, hands-free, you don't do anything, you just sit down, lazy, you don't have to work, so on and so forth. Obviously, it doesn't mean you don't have to work or anything, but it just gives you more freedom to do whatever you want to do in life, okay? So he talks about, for you to get to critical mass, you want to speed up the accumulation phase as fast as possible. So you want to get there as fast as possible, so to get to the point where you are financially free, right? And Tony Robbins talks about 5 ways you can speed up the process to your financial freedom and speed up that curve of the accumulation phase curve. And these 5 steps are: first, save more and invest a difference. So that's self-explanatory. If you can save on some small expenses in everyday life, like not buying coffee from Starbucks every day, or buying less water, where you can take your own bottled water with you, or eating less expensive food, and cooking more of your own food and taking that with you as well when you leave. Like all these expenses, once you reduce them, you're going to save up a lot of money that you can just put away in your saving fund, and that will make you more money in the future so that you can reach your financial freedom much faster and then get whatever you want later on, right? So before I get into the next point, so I guess it's just basically not getting into that instant gratification mentality that I just want this now, just to getting that sort of like quick buzz, quick high from all these like small things you buy. And instead of that, just apply more self-discipline and think of it as a long-term goal. Say, you know what, I'm not going to buy this just to get this dopamine rush and dopamine high that won't last forever. It will last for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But I'm going to leave this away so I can get to to my financial freedom, which is probably eternal happiness. It's just complete freedom. It's not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes. It's years upon years of freedom, and just doing whatever you want to do in life. The second one is earn more and invest a difference. So that goes with the same thing. Here Tony Robbins, basically he encourages you to get into entrepreneurship, open your own business. You don't have to, you can work at a 9-to-5 job, you can work as a part-time, but you can take the skills you've already gained in your job, or whatever skills you have, and transfer these and open your own business instead. And with today's massively growing online businesses and the internet world, it opens a lot of opportunities for just people from every profession really to make a lot of money online from just doing the things they like, sharing their skills, and just offering a lot of value to more people. So he talks about, for you to get more value in terms of money, you have to provide more value, and it doesn't mean that you have to provide just amazing advice that is just better than anyone else's advice, but through the internet you can spread your word to the masses and get your message to a wider audience, to much more people. So if you can get your message to, instead of 10 people in your office, to 1,000 on the internet, you're going to get 1,000 times more on your return on your value that you've given back. So 1,000 more, you're going to get 1,000 more return back on your investment in terms of money, monetary value, right? So it's not about just providing the best of the best, but it's about reaching more, providing more, and once you provide to more people, you can get more money back. So the third one is reduce fees and taxes, and we've discussed this. I've discussed an example in my first video. Go back and check it if you haven't yet, where I basically go through how small a mathematical example on how tax reductions can butcher your profits basically, and your compounding effect over the years. Because if you deduct 25%, 30% tax in terms of the income that you're putting in your fund, it will kill your investment in terms of if you want to double your amount over like 5 years, it will take you 10 years to double that amount, just because you have reduced the income that goes into the investment fund. So you want to reduce the taxes as much as possible, as well as the fees. And we talked about how we can reduce taxes and fees by investing in low-cost index funds, less fees. and also as well less taxes. Because with the income, with the mutual funds, what happens is that they're continuously being traded, they're continuously being bought and sold, which means that because there's a tax that applies on income on investment gains, and there's two different taxes. There's a short-term and long, the short-term short-term investment gains tax, and there's the long-term one. The short-term one is actually just as much as your income tax. So if you're in that high bracket of 50%, paying 50% for your income, and you're in like mutual funds that are being consistently and constantly being traded, means that you're going to that same income tax of 50% will apply to your gains. So if you're getting, let's say, 7% of your investment, now that's cut into half. Now it's 3.5%. But when you invest in low cost index funds, what happens is that your investment is more long term, and when it's long term, which means I think according to the tax law, whatever it is in America, is that it has to basically not be traded within 1 year frame. So if your tax is, if your income gains have not been withdrawn within 1 year of investment, then much less tax is actually applied to that investment again. I think it's about 20% as opposed to 50% for short term. So low cost index funds, long-term taxes apply to that, and short-term tax apply to mutual funds, which butcher your gains by half. So there you go. You have some tips on reducing tax. Read the book to actually get more tips about to gain knowledge about more tips on reducing your taxes, because that's really important. And truly, the 0.01 investors, they are really good at dodging tax. They're really good at not paying taxes because they know how the taxes can butcher the compounding effect. And that's very huge when it comes to investments. Get better returns. So he talks about here investing smartly in low-cost index funds, as we said, or in asymmetric risk-reward funds where you get much more reward for a small risk. And he talks about we talked about the different asymmetric risk-reward investments. Go back to my previous video to explore these 3 different methods that I've explained. Most of them basically, they give you 100% principal protection, which means that if the market goes down, you don't lose any of your money. If the market goes up, you get to participate in the gains. You don't get all the gains, but you get some of them, because you're basically risking not losing any money. Okay? And the 5th one is change your life and lifestyle for the better. So that kind of goes back to my to a video I actually uploaded on my channel on how to live more frugal, how to save a lot of your money and invest it away, and ways you can save money and not spend so much money on just luxuries, not even luxuries, but just things that you can save money on very easily, and that includes rent, and that includes, for example, buying cars. Instead of buying new cars, you buy used cars. So in here, Tony Robbins basically tells you, you can change your whole entire life. If you're living in a state or in a country that has high income tax and that is very expensive, you can actually think of moving out to a whole different country. Probably you can go to Western Europe, or some areas in Europe, some countries in Europe like Prague, or other countries that have not great economy, but they're very cheap. You can go there, you can rent a very cheap place, cheap food, cheap nightlife, whatever it is, and you can live on a very low income, a low budget. And that money that you accumulate from your work, the money that you save, you can put in your invest fund, and massively speed up the accumulation phase, so you can get to the point where you're like, you know what, I have a lot of money now. I even have more freedom than I did before. Now I can go to a more expensive place if I want to. So yeah, he says about you can find places that are cheaper but even nicer, and you can explore different cultures, different languages. You travel around the world and see which place is offers the lowest tax, income tax, lowest expenses, and so on and so forth. And he talks about it in his book how he changed his life, because I think he was living in California and they increased the taxes to a really ridiculous amount. So he had to move out, and he moved to a better place, I think in Palm Beach, where now he barely pays any taxes, and he's making a lot of money on his investment, and that money is growing year after year after year. So that's basically the 5 steps that we talked about here. That's about everything he talked about in this chapter. In the next video, actually, it's a really good one that you should tune in to listen to it. And it's about asset allocation. That's the most important. I think that's the most important chapter in this book, because it's going to show you, the specific percentages where you can put your money into different buckets that will grow. Not only that will grow, that will ensure that you will not lose any money in the future, right? When that goes back to the advice of the 0.001 investors give. They basically, all they care about in their investment is not to lose money. You know, they care about winning money, but more important than winning, they do not like losing. So in the asset allocation is going to show you basically the strategies that the top investors like Ray Dalio, Charles Schwab, and other ones, and their portfolio diversification, they're literally their investments, of how they make their investments and how they distribute their money in different buckets. That is very kind of, that basically gives you a really high, a better asymmetric risk reward option, which means that you get much higher, really great rewards, great returns on very small risk. Some of these investments, like Ray Dalio's, you know, his asset allocation portfolio basically made him, I think, money every year consistently for his investments, for his investors, for 30 years. And during the market crash, when the market went down by 50%, his investment went down by 3.2%. So only lost 3.2%. And this is actually, you know, this is 20 years worth of trial and error of figuring out what is the perfect percentage of, you know, and how to allocate your assets. Some maybe in real estate, some in commodities, some in stocks, some in bonds, and so on and so forth. So we're going to talk about that next chapter, and that's going to be the most important one. So tune in to listen to this advice by Tony Robbins. And thanks for watching this video. Like, share this video, comment below, tell me what you think. Subscribe to this channel. I'm going to create more of these videos, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.